Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to demystify something you have definitely used, but probably never actually seen. Whenever you fly, millions of journeys are processed in mere milliseconds, and it's all dictated by a system that visually, well, it kind of looks like a secret code straight out of 1985. We're talking about Amadeus. It's one of the primary systems airlines use to book your travel. So today, we're going to learn exactly how to read, write, and honestly, completely master that exact code. Think of this as our flight itinerary for today's explainer. Don't worry, we're going to break this complex code down into super digestible pieces. We're hitting the secret airline language, the 5 mandatory PNR elements, finding and selling seats, passengers and contact info, finalizing the PNR, and we'll wrap up with a handy command cheat sheet. All right, Section 1, the secret airline language. Deconstructing the code. Let's jump right into deconstructing this cryptic matrix that travel agents and airlines rely on every single day. So, how do you speak airline? I really want you to think about this for a second. When you click buy on some beautifully designed travel website, what is the actual language being spoken back to the airline's server? I mean, it's not point-and-click graphics, right? It's a highly structured, rapid-fire text command system. It is literally a secret language. And the whole point, the ultimate goal of speaking that language, is to create this, the PNR or passenger name record. Look, if you take away only one thing from the start of this explainer, let it be this definition right here. The PNR is the mandatory digital file that contains all the traveler data and itinerary details for any airline booking. Simply put, without a PNR, you aren't going anywhere. It's the absolute foundation of our whole codebreaker mission today. Moving right along to Section 2, the 5 mandatory PNR elements, the rule of 5. Think of this part as our unbending mission constraints. If we actually want to win the game of creating a booking, we've got to satisfy the system's strict demands. And that demand comes down to the magic number 5. Amadeus has this unbreakable rule of 5. If you try to save a booking without perfectly satisfying all 5 of these required elements, the system will absolutely not let you proceed. You will literally be stopped dead in your tracks. So, here's our gamified checklist for the rest of the explainer. You absolutely must have a flight itinerary, a passenger name, contact info, a ticketing arrangement, and finally, a received from signature. That's the whole shebang. 5 elements to build a valid PNR. Let's start knocking them out. Time for Section 3, finding and selling seats. Core booking actions. This is where we start building out this booking block by block. Okay, we're going to look at the first 3 technical steps that form the core foundation of any PNR. Step 1, displaying flight availability using the command AN. Step 2, actually selling the flight with the SS command. And Step 3, entering the passenger name with NM. Let's dive in and see exactly how these commands are put together. Think of this as your personal decoder ring. On the left side, we've got what looks like complete and utter gibberish, right? AN15AUGDELBLR. But look over on the right side and you'll see how beautifully logical this actually is. AN simply asks the system for availability. 15AUG is your travel date, August 15th. DEL is the departure city, Delhi. And BLR is the destination, Bengaluru. You literally just string these codes together with 0 spaces, and boom, the system instantly pulls up the flights. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly fast the system is at claiming a seat. Once you see the flights from your search, you just type SS1Y1. Okay, so SS stands for sell seat. The first one is the number of passengers. Y is the booking class, which is typically economy. And that final one tells the system to grab the flight sitting on line number 1 of your search results. In literally just 5 keystrokes, you have reserved a seat on an airplane. No way, right? It's that fast. And this brilliant little command shows how the system attaches a real human identity to that seat we just sold. We use the NM command for name. The 1 means 1 passenger, then we put the surname, a slash, the first name, and their title. So NM1 Kumar/Raj MR. Now, if you had 2 passengers with different names, you just start with NM2, list the first person, add a slash, and list the next. It is just remarkably systematic. Awesome! Section 4, passengers and contact info. Keeping in touch. We've got our flight and our passenger name, so that's 2 of our 5 mandatory elements done. Let's shift gears because obviously it really matters that the airline can actually reach the person we just booked in case, there's a sudden schedule change. Let's look at how this builds out the rest of our checklist. Here are the finalizing actions, steps 4 through 7 from our guide. We need to add contact information using the AP command, add the ticketing arrangement using TK, note exactly who we received the request from using RF, and finally end the transaction using ER or ET. Deconstructing that contact step, we use AP, which stands for add phone or basically passenger contact. You just type AP, a space the phone number, and a dash indicating the type like H for home. By the way, you can also specify a city code in this string. For example, typing AP Del and then the number tells the system it's a Delhi contact. This guarantees the passenger is totally reachable. Section 5. Finalizing the PNR. The end game. Oh yeah, we are officially entering the end game now. This is where we lock in the final rules of our mandatory 5 elements right before we execute the ultimate save. So our fourth mandatory element is the ticketing arrangement, because remember, a reservation is really just a reserved seat. It's not a paid, confirmed ticket yet. So we type TKTL, which stands for ticketing time limit, followed by a date like 20JUL for July 20th. This basically tells the airline, hey, we're going to issue the actual ticket by this deadline. Or actually, if the ticket arrangement is already totally completed, you can just use the code TKOK. Moving on to our fifth and final mandatory element. This is essentially a digital signature. We use the command RF, which stands for received from, followed by a name, in this case, RFRAJ. This permanently stamps the booking in the system, creating a clear audit trail of exactly who requested the transaction. All 5 constraints have been completely met. It is the moment of truth. To save the PNR and generate our golden prize, we type ER or ET, which means end transaction. If we entered everything correctly, the system accepts it, and boom, we're golden. Section 6, Command Cheat Sheet. Mastery Toolkit. Now that you totally get the logic behind all this, let's move to our final section. You are now officially trained code breakers, so let's look at your ultimate mastery toolkit. So the crucial point is that you really don't need to memorize a massive dictionary to do this, just these core functional patterns. You see our availability and sell seat commands up at the top, but take a look at the new vital commands at the bottom. Once a PNR is created, you can call it back up instantly using the retrieve command, which is RT followed by the booking code. And hey, if you make a mistake while building a booking and just want to scrap the whole thing and start over, you simply type IG to ignore it. Let's quickly look at the complete sequence from start to finish, exactly the way a pro travel agent strings all this logic together. In a matter of seconds, they type AN to find the flight, SS to sell the seat, NM for the name, AP for the phone number, TK for the ticket deadline, RF to sign it, and ER to save it. I mean, it is incredibly fast, totally seamless, and completely bypasses all those slow, clunky graphical interfaces we're so used to on consumer websites. And what exactly is the reward for typing that rapid-fire sequence? Well, as the guide states, after saving, Amadeus generates a 6-character record locator. That is your PNR. That beautiful 6-character alphanumeric code, something like ABC123, is literally the master key to your entire journey. It holds the flights, the names, the phone numbers, and the deadlines, all neatly packaged right there in the mainframe. Which leaves us with this final thought. You know, our modern world is entirely powered by these massive, invisible infrastructures. So next time you fly, when you get that automated confirmation email, will you look at your 6-character booking code differently? Knowing the exact step-by-step text commands, the ANs, the SSs, and the NMs that a system like Amadeus used to secure your seat in the sky, you now have a glimpse into the secret language running our world. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.